Alright, let's talk about some of the absolute worst music production advice I've ever heard. And trust me, there's a lot of it floating around out there. Whether you're just starting out or you've been at this for years, you've probably run into some questionable tips that sound convincing but can actually set you back. You know that one friend who acts like a studio guru? The one who always has an answer for everything, even if they've only made a handful of tracks themselves? Yeah, sometimes their tips are straight up disasters in disguise. It's easy to get caught up in the hype, but not all advice is created equal. So I'm here to save your ears and your tracks from some truly terrible advice that could ruin your mixes before you even realize it. First up, just slap a limiter on the master and call it a day. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this one. Look, limiters are useful, but if your mix sounds like a brick wall, you're not mastering, you're massacring. You're squashing all the life out of your track. A limiter won't magically fix a bad mix. It's not a get-out-of-jail-free card for poor balance or muddy frequencies. If your track is peaking all over, spend time balancing your levels and EQ first. Get your mix sounding great before you even think about limiting. Next, I've heard people say, always use the latest plugins, they're better. This one's a classic trap for producers. Honestly, some of my favorite sounds come from old stock plugins. There's a reason classics never go out of style. Gear envy is real, but don't let it stop you from making music. You don't need the latest and greatest to make something amazing. Sometimes the best tool is the one you already have. Creativity isn't about what you own, it's about how you use it. Here's a classic. Just copy the charts if you want to hit, as if there's a secret formula to success. Sure, learning from successful tracks can be helpful, but straight up copying, that's the fast track to sounding generic. The world doesn't need another clone. Your voice is what makes your music stand out. Don't be afraid to let your personality and quirks shine through. Don't be afraid to experiment or break a few so-called rules. Sometimes, the best moments come from happy accidents. And how about fix it in the mix? This one's a favorite excuse for lazy recording. Look, if your recording is messy, mixing won't save you. You can't polish a track that's fundamentally flawed at the source. Get it right at the source. Clean recordings, good performances, and solid arrangements. The better your raw material, the easier everything else becomes. Mixing should enhance, not rescue. Think of it as adding polish, not performing surgery. Then there's louder is always better. This myth has ruined more tracks than I can count. Nope. If you crank everything up, you lose dynamics, and that's where the emotion lives. Music needs contrast to move people. Give your music room to breathe. Let the quiet parts be quiet and the loud parts hit hard. It's not just about volume, it's about impact. A well-placed drop or a sudden silence can be more powerful than any wall of sound. Finally, one of my favorites, rules were made to be broken, so ignore all advice. It sounds rebellious, but it's not the whole story. Okay, yes, be bold and creative, but don't ignore the basics. There's a reason some guidelines exist. They help you avoid common mistakes. Understanding the why behind the rules will help you break them in a way that actually works. Master the fundamentals, then twist them to fit your style. So next time you hear some sketchy advice, trust your ears, trust your taste, and remember, the best music comes from a place of curiosity, not shortcuts. Stay open-minded, but don't be afraid to question what you hear. If you've got your own horror stories of bad advice, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear them. Let's help each other grow as a community. Until next time, keep experimenting, keep learning, and happy producing. Your next great track might be just one bold idea away.